Carter Cash here, and today Random Destinations is at the Maramec Spring Park. That's Maramec with an A, not an E, and park as in this is a private park, not a part of the Missouri State Park system. It's located just outside of St. James, Missouri, which is right off on Highway 44, about 100 miles from St. Louis maybe. This area was first settled in 1826 by Thomas James of Ohio. The reason he settled here was due to an abundant hematite ore deposit, and he opened up a large open-air pit mine. The iron ore, in addition to the constant flow of water from the spring, made a perfect place to open up a foundry for ironworks. And at the time it was quite successful. It actually operated from 1826 all the way up to 1876. And at the peak of its operation had a population of 500 people here living in its own little town up on the hill. It has its own little cemetery and the mine. And we'll go take a drive around, take a look at what's left of that here a little later. The reason this foundry shut down was due to its remote location. There was no good transportation system here. It tended to serve a lot of people within a small area, but in terms of being a major foundry, no, it never was one. This property remains in the James family right up until the death of Thomas James' granddaughter, Lucy, in 1938. Upon her death, it was made part of a trust under the control of the James Foundation, and it's been in their possession ever since 1938. Now, because it's a private park, there are slightly different rules for visitation. One is there's an entry fee, $5 per car per day, or you can get an annual membership for $35 that lets you bring your car in, and however many people I guess you can pack in your car for a year. There are two museums here, both of which are free and both of which were closed today, which happens to be a Tuesday. So I'm not sure what days they're open, but the first one is the Missouri Museum, the Maramec Museum. Contains artifacts from the ironworks, and the second one is the Ozark Agricultural Museum, which shows life in the Ozarks in the 19th and early 20th century. I've been through both of them. Both of them are very interesting. So if you come here, make a point of going up to the area just north of the spring. I guess that's north. And check it out. There also has a very small snack bar inside there. The park contains a very nice picnic area. I happen to be sitting in one of the very nice ones that is covered and nice and shady and only has roughly 22 million little gnats flying around in my face. So if you see me swatting around, it's not that I've become epileptic, it's just that I've had enough of these little gnats. There's also a small snack bar and store at the entrance, and they serve breakfast and lunch. Now I will say this, compared to the shop and restaurant at Bennett Springs, this is nothing to write home about. If you're going to come out here, I would bring a picnic lunch and plan on eating in the picnic area. Now also, we are going to take what's called a historic drive. It takes a tour of the back side of the park, and it goes along and gives a view of the valley. Although with this much vegetation and this time of year, I don't know how scenic that's going to be, but it does include the old ironworks cemetery, the open pit mine, and the remains of what used to be Stringtown, which was where the company people and I guess the owners and them actually lived when the foundry was running. So right now I'm going to wrap this part of it up because I'm tired of swatting these damn gnats. It is at the Maramec Community Cemetery, which was active from 1858 to 1882. So we'll take a walk in. It certainly is a peaceful place. Actually, it's a pretty good sized cemetery based on the number of crosses. I guess these are people that worked at the mine or people that worked in the foundry. I know the headstones are made from pipe. Weathered. There's a few stone headstones, but most of them are just metal. Let's see what we have here. Born 1860, died 1876. 16 years old. One of the things that's interesting about Missouri, and I believe this is still the case, I think I'd heard something just a few months ago, that in this state it's not illegal to bury someone on your own property. And as a result, there are a number of farms and country places that have family burial sites right there on the property. And today that's still legal to do. We'll take a walk down and look. I will get more information on this. I will add to how long this was in operation and how many people. Well, I'll say this: if you have to be buried someplace, this is a very pretty place and a very quiet place. It certainly is peaceful. I believe I read somewhere in my research on Maramec Spring that the town at its height had a population of around 500 people working at the foundry. All right, let's go up and take a look at the they're supposed to have a view of the open pit mine, which is the whole reason for all these graves being here, and the town that used to be here. So let's go take a look at that. Now this may not look like much today, but back in 1840 this was a major working iron mine. It's kind of hard to tell with all the vegetation that's growing up and the trees that are going up, but I suspect this is quite a bit bigger. I mean, you can see across the valley there. I suspect if you take away these trees, the actual size of the mine itself was probably pretty good size. This is a rendering of what life looked like around this Maramec Iron Works back in the 1835-1840s. I'm guessing this was the site of one of the buildings. It's so overgrown today, it's hard to envision what it was like at the time. But there actually was a town up here large enough to support the 500 people or so that worked at the mines. Here's another rendition of life in the mid 1850s. George Evans spent some 3 years at the Maramec Iron Works. So they had a boarding house, other residences. He married here and moved to Steelville, wherever Steelville is. Well, let's go down and see what's next. This is the Ozark Agricultural Museum, which is closed today. I have been through it in the past, and it's very nice. It contains examples of the type of things that they made here while the foundry was in operation, and also examples of what rural Missouri life was back in the from the mid-1800s all the way up to Depression era, I believe, in there. Obviously some of this material, or some of these farm implements aren't from the 1800s, but anyway, they have a big museum here.